Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. Coach Jason here with Arm Pitching Development. I thought it'd be good, as the start of the season has come about us, to do a mechanical check-off list or a mechanical checklist for pitchers out there, and for the parents at home, for the coaches at home. Hopefully this will give you some semblance, some order to operate pitching by. So let's get into the checklist. The first thing we're going to look at is the set stance or presentation on the mound. So what I like to do is keep the ball in my hand at a 2-seam grip or a 4-seam grip, doesn't really matter to me. And then I put the ball on my back hip, and then I turn in and look. And I keep my back foot tethered. We'll come here. I keep my back foot against the rubber, and then I do my look in from here. And then on my set, what I try to do is preload in an athletic stance. So my athletic stance is just slightly outside of my shoulder width. And then I put the weight into my back hip and my back quadricep. And then when we put our hands together, what I like to do is come set with a closed glove position here, about a few inches off of my chest, or tethered to my chest here. So once we have our set, I want to think about 5 core points. We want to do balance and posture. Then we want to do direction and stride length, arm action and timing, and then follow through and deceleration. So these will be the core points that we're going to kind of touch on. If you followed some of the other videos on the channel with the mechanical synopsis or analysis, you'll see that bullet point show up. I'll actually link a card to that. So going back to our set stance, once we're set here, what I like to do is turn the left shoulder in a little bit slightly, maybe 2 or 3 inches, and then keep my chin over my abdominals and where I want the ball to go. So my eyes and everything is in a line with where I want to go with the pitch. So chin over the abdominals, pushing the glutes back. One main thing is that you want to pitch with your glutes behind your heels. You never want to pitch with your abdominals sucking in, and that's going to take us off course direction. So off our set, when we go back to balance and posture, right? So through the load point, I like 50 degrees if there's nobody on base, or less, 50 to 30 degrees with someone on base. And if nobody's on base, then you can have a little bit more of a leg kick or a little bit larger load point. Okay, and then I like to tuck the hip in. On my posture with my upper body, I keep my chin over my abdominals and I'm inside of my front hip here. And then this would be my approach point. So I'm really trying to be strong in my back and keep my posture good. What you don't want is any wavering through this point going backwards. You want to keep everything in line going with your target. So balance and posture is going to be key. So you get into your balance point, I like to invert the hip just a little bit here. And then as we go on from this point, we go into directional and low balance break position, and we go into a sit position here, right? So we're inside, break, and what I like to think as we're going to go forward to direction and stride length is kind of leading the heel forward, keeping our hip closed through our linear move. So as on our approach, we're up and down, sit, engage, and then we separate our hands and we separate our hips at the same time. In terms of separation, it's separating here together, right? And then trying to stay back on our approach here. As far as the separation goes, or stride length goes, I like to sit in my back hip here and keep my back knee almost like I'm pushing the rubber away from me as I'm going on approach, so I stay in a strong balanced position in my back hip while I'm approaching the catcher. So from stride and separation here, the separation of the hips and shoulders, what we talk about is that inverted shoulder here. So when we're separating at degrees inside here while our front hip is opened out here, right? And then on the arm action and timing, we want this timing to match the front leg of the separation from the front side, and then the arm action can be a little bit delayed, but we want a shorter, tighter arm action to make sure we're getting elevated here at front foot strike. It doesn't have to be complete arm spiral at this point, but it does need to be on top and elevated. Once we go to energy transfer, once we go into conversion, right, from the hips, we go from rotation of the back hip, which throws me into arm spiral and lay back. Okay, so we get into transition, arm spiral, lay back, and then from the glove hand, as we turn our hips to get in line here, what I like to think about on the glove hand is that, one, I try to stay on the inside here. The other part is I try to keep it tethered or close in to my side with my elbow, and then I don't allow the hand to drop past my elbow joint. So if you're pitching and you go out and you drop your glove hand past your elbow point, that's going to lead your direction into adverse positions or situations. So we're going out, inside, we come down in, and then we can pull through, but we're not dropping down any further there. So now that we're through the transition piece, going forward here, right? So we're here, through the transition, we're gonna go through the throw. So I try to keep my back foot tethered to the rubber, keep my glove hand tight. I'm not wavering to the left too much to help elevation. And then I go through throw, which I try to keep my back foot grounded as long as I can to help with the kinetic chain and the buildup of energy through the ball, through the release of the pitch. I try to get the pitch released over my front foot by as long as I can manage in strength. I arch my back, I keep my chest up and my eyes to the target I want to throw through. I get through the release point and pull through here on deceleration. This is not a must for younger guys. Okay, once we get to 90 degrees here, or vertical shin, we can stay in position with that vertical shin, it's fine. Higher performance guys that can bring this hip back into blocking phase and get over their front side and rotate inward like a corkscrew through release, the better, right? And then on deceleration, I try to drive my thumb down in a natural, loose manner off the release point, and then I just decel my back leg through. And then I'm not really too concerned about the landing position. It doesn't need to be squared up ready for a pitch, but you do want to be able to be athletic and make an athletic play if there's a bunt or if there's a comebacker. Okay, so that's our bullet points. That's our checklist for pitching mechanics. I try to do it once a year around the start of the season for youth athletes. This does apply for older athletes as well. And then listen, if you're following the channel and you want to submit a video for analysis, please do that. I will tag my email address here below me, and feel free to send me an email. And then really that's all I have for this video, and until I shoot the next one, I'll see you guys next time.